recording. Okay. There we go. Okay, it's recording. Good deal. All right. Because I logged into it on my phone because I wanted to make sure that it was showing the right thing, and so it is. I just went ahead and disconnected it. All right. Okay, cool. Okay, finally think we need to be. Okay, so 5.2 is where we're at today. Integers and absolute value. All right, so natural numbers are also known as the counting numbers. And I think we mentioned this a little bit yesterday too, but yeah, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so forth.
It's so white when the projector.
Yeah, it's right. Okay. All right, so then you have the whole numbers, which is basically the same thing as the natural numbers. The only difference is it also includes 0. And then the integers is all of the whole numbers plus all of the negative whole numbers. All right. And positive numbers are any numbers that are greater than 0, and negative numbers are any numbers that are less than 0. So absolute value is the distance from 0 on the number line. So it's never negative. So that, for example, the absolute value of 5 is 5, the absolute value of -2 is 2, and the absolute value of 0 is 0. All right, so let's see. Graph these on a number line, okay? So here is 0, and here is -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5. Okay, so plot the numbers on a number line like that. All right. Write less than or greater than between each pair of numbers. All right, so that symbol means less than. And that symbol means greater than. Okay, and I also, when you're doing it like this, it's kind of easy to think of like, when I was a kid, I remember they said like it's an alligator that eats the bigger number, right? Or, somebody else told me also, one of my students actually one time told me that if you put 2 dots next to the bigger number and 1 dot next to the smaller number, and then you connect them. But either way. So -3 is greater than -6. And then -4 is less than +6. Okay. All right, so number 3, 3a, absolute value of 10 is 10. absolute value of negative 75 is 75. All right, and the absolute value of 0 is 0. Okay. All right. To add two integers with the same sign, add the absolute values and use the common sign. So for example, negative 3 plus negative 5 equals negative 8. All right. And then to add two integers with unlike signs, subtract the absolute values and use the sign of the number with a larger absolute value. So 3 plus negative 5 equals negative 2. So we subtract, so like 5 minus 3 is 2, and the bigger number is negative, so it's negative. All right, any number plus 0 is still the number. So that's the addition property of 0. Commutative property of addition means that when you add two numbers and you switch the order, you still get the same answer. So 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. So that's a commutative property. And the associative property of addition means that you can group the numbers in different groups and it still gets the same answer. So if you have 2 plus 3 plus 5, it doesn't matter if you group the 2 and the 3 together and do that first and then add 5, or if you group the 3 and the 5 together and then add the 2, either way you're going to get the same answer. So that's what that's the associative property. Okay. And actually, so my favorite thing to think about when I'm adding and subtracting with negative numbers and stuff is to think about a bank account, checking account. So for example, like if we're doing negative 1 plus negative 3, then yeah, think about if your account is overdrawn by $1 and then you spend another $3. Okay, so then what's your balance going to be? Well, it's going to be negative $4. All right, and if your account is, so if you want to do negative 3 plus 6, you could think, okay, if the account's overdrawn by $3 and I deposit $6, then my balance is going to be $3. All right, and on number 6, negative 7 plus negative 3. So if you're overdrawn by 7 and you spend 3 more, then you're at negative 10. All right, so subtracting integers. So the opposite, or in other words, the additive inverse of an integer is the same distance from 0 on the number line, but on the opposite side of 0. All right, so, like 5 and negative 5, or 3 and negative 3. So to subtract two integers, add the first number to the opposite of the second number. Then follow the rules for addition. All right, so that's one way of doing it. All right, so what that means, all right, so you could say that, so 19 minus 5, so what that statement is saying is that that's the same thing as 19 plus negative 5. Okay, so obviously 19 minus 5, that's just straightforward anyway, but if for some reason you wanted to, you could think of it like that. All right, so obviously 19 minus 5, that's 14. All right, so negative 10 minus 4. Okay, so No, because remember, so if your account is overdrawn by $10 and you spend $4 more, yeah, it would be negative 14. Or like what they were saying is add the opposite of this number. So like saying negative 10 plus negative 4 is basically the same thing. Negative 14.
And that is a plus.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When you have minus a negative, that makes a plus. Yep. Or in other words, you know, like it was saying is, so yeah, whenever I see minus a negative, I just automatically make that a plus. So that's the same thing as what they were saying, like add the opposite of that number. So, right. Like if your account was overdrawn by $1 and you deposit 4, now you have 3. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, and then again, you see the minus and negative, so you turn that to a plus. And so negative 20 plus 20, that's 0. 0 minus 12, negative 12. All right. All right, multiplying of integers. So multiplying, if two factors have different signs, the product is negative. If they have the same sign, the product is positive. So multiply the same sign, positive, multiply opposite signs, it's negative. All right, multiplication follows the commutative property, which means if you switch the order, it's still the same. So 3 times 5 is the same as 5 times 3. Also the associative property, same thing like with addition. Multiplying by 0 always equals 0. Multiplying by 1 is just equals the number. And then also the distributive property. Multiplication distributes. So that's like saying 5 times 3 plus 1. And so it's saying, you know, you could distribute that. And that would be, you know, 15 plus 5, which is 20. Okay. So that's one way of doing that. All right. So for example, let's multiply negative 5 times 7. Negative 35. All right, so one way to indicate multiplication that we use a lot is a dot. Another way is with parentheses. So those parentheses are indicating to multiply. So a negative times a negative is a positive. So 1 times 40 is 40. And then 25 times 0, so anything multiplied by 0 always equals 0. All right. So basically the same rules apply for dividing, as far as if you divide two numbers that have opposite signs, it's going to be a negative answer. If you divide two numbers that have the same sign, it's going to be a positive answer. All right. And then dividing a number by itself equals 1. Dividing by 1 basically doesn't do anything. It just gives you the same number. 0 divided by any number is always equal to 0. But if you divide by 0, that's undefined. So a way to remember that is 0 under is undefined. Zero under is undefined. All right, so if we have negative 48 divided by negative 6, so those negatives cancel each other out, and 48 divided by 6 is 8. And then number 16 says negative 40 divided by 0. So 0 under is undefined. And then number 17, 50 divided by negative 50. So we know a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative answer, but 50 divided by 50 is 1. So that answer is negative 1. And number 18, 0 divided by anything is always 0. Number 19, 28 divided by negative 4. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. So that answer is negative 7. Okay. All right, number 20, a mountain is 12,695 feet above sea level, and a valley is 397 feet below sea level. What is the difference in elevation between the mountain and the valley? Okay, so they're essentially saying that that's negative 397. So it's like saying 12,695 minus negative 397. So we should add those. So 13,092. So it's a difference in elevation of 13,092 feet. Okay. Number 21 says the number line shown below indicates factors that can stretch or shrink one's probable lifespan. If you eat 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day, and you eat red meat more than twice per week, do you stretch or shrink your lifespan by how many years? Okay, let's see. So, eat 5 servings of fruit and veggies a day. So that's at positive 3. And eat red meat more than twice per week. That is at negative 5. So you're basically adding those together. So I would say 3 plus negative 5 equals negative 2. So you'll actually shrink your lifespan by 2 years. All right, any questions about anything? All right, that's all I have for today. All right, so I'll see y'all tomorrow.
I love colors.